my god. Damn them.
There, here's a buddy.
Now we'll give them life.
Looks like my pants on Saturday night.
Look, they're moving.
There's like million people.
This post was from Thursday, August 8th, 2013, called Dragon Blood. And before I get into it, I want to mention a few PDFs. In that post, This Side of Saturn, I had linked this document called Apophis by Michael Kelly, and it's about like the draconian path, I guess, or just stuff about dragons and the symbolism of it. And because that's what this whole blog post analyzes, really, is the Kabbalistic and like symbolic archetypal associations with the dragon. And I found it interesting because he mentions the number 107, and it's just funny how this weird innocuous number pops up like so often. But anyway, I forgot to mention that in the This Side of Saturn post. And then also the post where I talked about the key of the pyramid. I should have mentioned this document as well, the Ordo Typhonis Preliminary Statement Concerning Conditions of Membership. And, I mean, I don't personally recommend or find it necessary to necessarily go and seek, affirmation from any sort of like order or group claiming to be an order. Like there's a lot of AA sort of groups, I guess, and I wouldn't trust them just because you never really know like their level or their intentions. And so, I mean, I'm not saying don't or you can't, but you can. It's just I wouldn't recommend it. But The Ordo Typhonus is a body of initiates whose aim in the outer is the establishment of the law of Thelema. And it's funny, they say that, but how often does the OTO themselves or any supposed Thelemite actually, do that? They tend to be very authoritarian. And anyway, Ordo Typhonus is the name currently applied to an arcane tradition once known as the Stellar Wisdom, which had its roots in Lemuria. Or that is, I guess, to say, just many cycles of history ago. After the submergence of Atlantis, or a precursor civilization before before Egypt, because obviously there is evidence of a remnant. Obviously, they had certain knowledge at what we have as their beginning, or the historical data of their beginning of civilization. They appeared to have leftover knowledge from a previous civilization. And people often, because of Atlantis being referred to by Plato, and obviously the term Atlantis implies this sort of like Atlantic or Atlantean island or continent. But what Atlantis really is, obviously, is just a sort of a summary or a catch-all term for a pre-cataclysmic or pre-diluvian civilization, which obviously existed on every continent, just about. So I know Atlantis and Lemuria are trigger words because of the connotations associated, but anyway, after the submergence of Atlantis, the tradition was perpetuated in the mysteries of North, Central, and South America, and in the Polynesian sea cults. It attained its apotheosis, however, in the pre-monumental period of Egypt's history. In its decline, it was carried over into the Typhonian dynasties, ending with the 17th, although remnants of it are traceable in the 26th dynasty. In later ages, the wisdom reappeared in fragmented form in certain Far Eastern traditions. Coming to more accessible and comparatively recent times, the current surfaced again when Jacques de Molay, circa 1393, concentrated it into the Order of the Knights Templar in connection with the mysteries of the Holy Grail. At this stage, it assumed a Masonic caste. In the 18th century, the tradition appeared under the leadership of Adam Weishaupt, 1748 to 1830, and of course, I don't see any mention yet to the Rosicrucians and Francis Bacon and all of that whole history, but that's related to. It was then known as the Order of the Illuminati, which, again, before that it was the Perfectibilists. But in the late 19th century, an Austrian adept named Karl Kellner gave it a new impetus and the name by which it was more recently known, Ordo Templi Orientis. And a lot of people think Crowley was like the founder of the OTO, but it was Theodor Reuss and Karl Kellner. Crowley just pretty much modified it with the whole Book of the Law and Thelema and all that. And then Thelema goes back further to the Hellfire Clubs and Rabelais. And, it's a Greek term anyway. But Kellner was the first Supreme Grand Master of the Order in its modern guise. In 1905, Kellner died, and a German theosophist, Theodor Reuss, became its head. The Masonic element then became dominant. In 1924, and see, some people claim that a lot of the origins of the OTO connect with the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor and a few other orders, and obviously the theosophy was a big element in the ground, laying the groundwork, so to speak. And a lot of this, that's the whole thing, like this so-called New Age movement isn't really new. It's just it's an introduction to the West of ancient Eastern ideas. A lot of these terms are, what would it be? They're just like demonized and laughed at. And it's easy because, it's got a lot of bad connotations and negative associations, especially since like the 60s and whatnot. But that's why it's necessary to just go back over and reread these things and try to, separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, or the, all that. Anyway, Kellner was the first Supreme Grand Master of the Order in its modern guise. In 1905, Kellner died and German theosophist Theodor Reuss became its head. The Masonic element then became dominant. In 1924, which is the year Kenneth Grant was born, the English magician Aleister Crowley took over the leadership, becoming the third Grand Master until his death in 1947. For the ensuing 8 years, the Order's affairs were conducted in the Outer by its treasurer, Karl Germer. During the 1950s, another English occultist, Kenneth Grant, realigned the Order with the stellar wisdom which had originally infused it. He also established within the Order a dependent cell, New Isis Lodge, for the purpose of channeling praeterhuman or extraterrestrial transmissions. The Lodge operated between 1955 and 1962, during which period the stellar wisdom was fully aligned with the current of Thelema, 93, with which the Order had first been inspired under Crowley's leadership. In 93, I've mentioned it, but that connects to a lot of more older Masonic sort of ideas, like the triangle, the nine arches, the golden triangle with the name or the word of God, the 90-degree angle to the oblique 90-degree angle to the 3 dimensions. It's got a lot of connections to it. Anyway, the Order now operates in the Outer as Ordo Typhonus, the Typhonian Order. One of the Order's concerns in recent years has been the development of methods for dealing with the massive night-side forces now erupting in the Earth's astral ambience. A potent means of encounter and investigation is now, in consequence, consolidating within the Order. Similarly, another specialized cell has been formed to explore the cult of Lamb, a transmundane entity contacted by Aleister Crowley in the course of the Amalantra working. The work of this cell is to develop those magical techniques most effective in furthering contact with Lamb, a significant gateway to the core of magic, which is the forging of insight through trafficking with wider and deeper ranges of consciousness. In order to avoid any misunderstanding, it is here emphasized that the Order Typhonus does not undertake the training of novices, nor is it a teaching order. It is a highly specialized organization designed to transmit the vital magical current which emanates from the dynamic heart of radiant energy veiled by the image of Shaitan Iwas, 93. The Ordo Typhonus has at all times upheld the principles of individual liberty, fraternity, and universal benediction. Its aims and its doctrines have been expounded in the writings of successive Grand Masters, each of whom has redefined the program of the Order in accordance with the development of esoteric and magical techniques. A more detailed account of the Order's current activities is given in Kenneth Grant's Typhonian trilogies. In particular, see Chapter 1 of the Magical Revival. For an insight in the inner group working mentioned in paragraph 6 above, see Night Side of Eden. For examples of transmissions, see The Wisdom of Silba in Outer Gateways and Liber Akbish in the Ninth Arch. Conditions of membership. Applications for membership will be considered only after the satisfactory fulfillment of the following conditions. 1. The formal acceptance in writing of the law of Thelema as it is defined in Liber Al Vel Legis, subfigura 220. 2. The daily performance for 9 consecutive months of a magical or mystical practice. The practice should be chosen by the candidate and details submitted in advance for approval. A daily record should be maintained over the course of the 9 months, detailing the starting time and duration of the practice, an account of the session, and many other observations which seem relevant. A typewritten copy of the record should be forwarded at the end of the 9 months for assessment, bearing on the title page the candidate's name, address, and date of birth. See, and this is why I would say I wouldn't, recommend that. Anyway, the record will be due within 1 month following the completion of the practice and should be accompanied by the formal acceptance mentioned at 1 above. Note that all records of whatever grade become, upon submission, the property of the Order. A candidate who is already a member of or affiliated to any occult, religious, or political organization which has not officially accepted the law of Thelema is not eligible for admission to the Ordo Typhonus. Where such acceptance exists, the candidate is required to provide written confirmation of the fact from the governing body of the organization concerned. All candidates must be 21 years of age or over at the time of their membership application. The Ordo Typhonus places its members under no financial obligations whatsoever. And then, of course, I'd recommend the book Seth, God of Confusion by H.T. Veld. There's PDFs of that available. The Evolution of the Dragon by G. Elliott Smith is really good. It goes into a lot of different symbolism and connections between the dragon throughout history. That's why I recommend the old books. Just various, like they were talking about the Polynesian mythos or whatever. There's a lot of stuff to that in connection with the dragon. James Churchward's books, for what they're worth, are interesting. There's the Dragon Rouge, which I thought was kind of connected to the topic of this whole dragon blood and the draconian initiation. Thomas Carlson wrote Kabbalah, Qliphoth, and Goetic Magic, which goes into the Qliphoth and all that of the Tree of Life, the left-hand path, and the positive sort of aspects of that. Kenneth Grant Home wrote this sort of really long expose of the Dragon Rouge and their whole system and the history and whatnot. I'd recommend reading that. And then Kenneth Grant also mentions in the Ninth Arch Frederick Carter's book, The Dragon of the Alchemists, which goes over all sorts of symbolism, but obviously, especially the dragon. So there's that. But, of course, this whole subject, the whole subject of draconian, the dragon, obviously Satan in the Bible is the dragon, but the dragon is also the transformative power of the self in that whole path. So I don't know, it's just something to learn about, but not get too, identified with, because there's a lot of people that do that, and I think it's limiting itself. Like the whole Church of Satan, for example, is contradictory in the fact that like they do such like it's necessary. I read the Satanic Bible in like 9th grade, and I remember the teachers I actually got in trouble for it, basically. I had to go to the office, and they had to talk to me, and they were like, so why are you reading this? I'm like, well, I was into philosophy and stuff. I was reading all sorts of things. I read The God Delusion, because I was surrounded by hypocritical, like very low education, like low IQ, pseudo-Christians. And I just wanted to look outside of that, and I did. And I just see that the whole satanic, nonconformist rebellion idea is necessary, but it's not something to get stuck in, and it's not something to get, it's very cliche. And then same with the atheistic. And I said, I was atheist for a short time. It doesn't mean, I'm a theist and I believe in some, either anthropomorphic or in any sense physical God. I think that the concept of God as this sort of unitary force it's kind of like, what would it be, the unified field theory or something, I don't know, or the monad, which, like they say, is almost incomprehensible as far as the ego is concerned. Like you have to kind of relinquish the ego to comprehend that. But it's the same with nothing. And I don't know, it's just, these are philosophical ideas. They're not something people should cling to or get too emotional over. And I know that even by me addressing this stuff or going over it, or it's like the words themselves, I realize are charged, and it brings a sort of hostility and anger or fear or whatever. And it's kind of odd to me. I should mention this picture is by Nicholas Roerich, and that's the Chintamani or Mani stone, the wish-fulfilling gem, or Om Mani Padme Hum. But anyway, I'll get to reading this. There is an old legend about an ancient star stone that fell to earth ages ago when the archangels Lucifer and Michael first battled. Michael struck Lucifer on the head, and the crown jewel fell off and down to earth, symbolized by Malkuth. This legendary stone is called the Lapsit Exilis, or the Stone of Exile, the stone the builders rejected, which ended up being the capstone in the whole Masonic legend. The jewel has been equated with the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, because they've said it's emerald, an emerald jewel, and they've likened it or linked it to the whole Moldavite meteor from 15 million years ago. But obviously there's just loose connections to all this. It's more like synchromysticism, if anything. I wouldn't say it's literally connected. It's just, again, history and mythology. History is almost like a mythology playing out in real life. It's very cliche. The jewel has been equated with the Emerald Tablet of Hermes as well as the Grail. It is symbolic of yet another allegorical rendition of the fall, of not only Lucifer from heaven, but of the middle pillar of the Tree of Life, Tifereth, Yesod, Malkuth, etc., with Doth being the schism or the fall or the abyss, which created Doth, death, dimensions, time-space, i.e. life. There are many links in this web of dragon gematria. In Arthurian legend, the stone holds the Excalibur that only the true king with the strength can withdraw. The sword is the flaming sword, the spirit being cast into matter. The flaming sword, traced along the paths of the Tree of Life from Kether to Malkuth, enumerate to 777, as I mentioned in the last post, the number of the divine revelation. Revelation, obviously being 777, and C, Liber 777, which is all about the correspondences. 777 is also the dragon, or Druk, of the deep, Binah 67 plus 710, 777, and Olam HaKlaphoth, the world of the shells. 7 is Zain, or Zayin, a sword, therefore 777 is the triple, or flaming sword. The dragon has many forms, first as Tan, which comes from Tanith, 59, the number of dragon and archon in simple gematria. Tan with none final is 709, Archi, beginning, and serpents. Archi serpents are the reptilian archons, the dragon kings, i.e. the kings of Edom. See, in this whole idea of the reptilians, it's not, I don't even necessarily think of it literally, like, oh, there's reptiles running around. It's more like, again, the serpent mythology of the fact that it's kind of a quantum idea, like the strings, the threads, the fabric of reality, so to speak, which are numerical, and it's like a continuum, and they intertwine and somehow create what we call reality. And then, of course, there's the reptilian nature of the mind. 709 plus 1 equals 710, the number of Druk, the thunder dragon of Bhutanese mythology. 710 is also Psi, the 23rd letter of the Greek alphabet, denoting a form of psychic energy. As 71 times 10, it is Lam in Malkuth, or the dragon serpent Lam manifested in full as Druk the dragon. Seth, or Set, or Sith, as Kenneth Grant refers to it, also equals 710, as both the name and the word, or hiss, of the serpent. The stone, Abin, with none final, 703, plus the sword, Zin, 67, together enumerate the key to their solution. Only O Phoenix, the phoenix in Greek, equivalent to Horus, 770, has the power. And again, the sword would be 7. 770 is also On, O-N, which is the Greek word for being, like ontology. Anyway, again, being is 70, and then B is 7. Than, or Tan, which again is related to the number 10, and Malkuth and the dragon, or the 9 coming full circle, the dragon, or the serpent eating its tail. Than, as 400 plus 1 plus 700, is 1101, the number of Sockless, the fool, which I have come to find may be a prototype for Santa Claus, sits at 6 in English gematria, the Christmas clown. And Soklos is the more ancient, one of the more ancient names of Satan in the Gnostic mythology, or whatever you want to call it. 1101 is the number of Surprise, the Draco aliens, the alien abductors, the Men in Black, gray alien discs, the nuclear aliens, RPSTOVAL, Giza Pyramid, Obvious, and look for patterns in the alphabet. And these are just, again, things that ended up clustering in that number. And 1101 is kind of like, or 1101, it makes me think of Kether and Doth again, but Doth being this sort of 11 times 100. 11 times 100 would be like AI and Koth, or AIQ, QAI, quantum AI. Anyway, this associates the dragon with the ufological extraterrestrial phenomena, as well as with the Egyptian mystery tradition, as well as certain aspects of the Abrahamic and Kabbalistic spiritual literature. Reversed, 1101 is 1011, Satan, the mask, the riddle of Al, the supreme spell, the concealed wisdom, and Teonanacatl, the shamanic name for the psychedelic psilocybin mushrooms, again I mentioned in the last post, and the Lord of the Gates of Matter, the name of the devil card. The dragon Tan is typified by the number 10, being the crowning of the serpent, or the serpent once it's become the dragon, again with the wings, or, the evolution of the serpent. It is the Ouroboros, Leviathan. Leviathan is 496, the number of Malkuth, the 10th Sephira which governs the body, 496, and the material world, the body of the dragon. 496 is also 1 through 31, the key of Al, which again, RPSTOVAL, the riddle of Al. This was linked to the Satanic Bible, but I guess the link isn't in function anymore. The letters surrounding the sigil of Baphomet are those of the name Leviathan, and it is not the face of a goat, as many assume. Well, you could think of it as a goat, but I say that it's the dragon that is given as the face of Satan or Baphomet. And, it's up to you to decide, but I think it's the dragon. The key of it all mentioned in Al chapter 3, verse 47 equals 992, which is 496 plus 496, or 1 through 31 Al plus 1 through 31 La, being and non-being. 992 is also the number of the order and value mentioned in Al chapter 2, verse 55, referring to the cipher used in these transmissions. This is the forbidden fruit given by the serpent before the great fall in full, with Aleph in its fullest final value, of the entire cosmos into the universe, initiating the wheel of time. This is the key to Liber El Vel Legis, which in Jewish gematria is 992, again connecting the original title of Liber El to this whole formula, the Book of the Law. The serpent, Nakash, 358, is one less than Satan, 359, which is itself one less than the circle, 360. 360 is the number of the wheels, discs, sephiroth, and chakras, and the soul itself. Soul equals 360 in Jewish gematria. 360 is the perfect ion, the Garden of Eden, again 360 in Jewish gematria, in which the serpent, 358, was on the central tree, 1, the pillar, 359, which gave the knowledge to Adam at conception, 360. The fall is the opening of the gate of Malkuth, to which in the waking state initiation is the equivalent of the opening of the eye of the dragon. 360 is the number of the Hebrew Dracon, and in Jewish gematria 360 is furthermore the number of the Angel of Death, and Tuawi, mentioned by Kenneth Grant in the Ninth Arch, the firestone associated with the destruction of Atlantis, again the Chintamani. There is a Hebrew name for Malkuth called the Gate, and it is a Tamura of Tarot as Throa, 671. It is the 360, circle, eye, aura, egg, of Adam Kadmon, 311, Aish, man, a title of Tiferet. The O, or opened eye, of the dragon. 671 is the nucleus of the DNA molecule that operates in and by the beast system of numbers and letters. The Pantelis, or perfect, Kyriakon, or house, the house of the Lord, Paradisos, paradise or heaven. It is all in Tukranion, the skull of Omontis, the prophet. The Eremites, or hermit, knows it as the 5 aspects of Typhon. 1. Tarot, the mother of revolutions, or circles of time. 2. Torah, the law. 3. Throa, the gate. 4. Athor, womb or mother of Har, Horus, the child. 5. Rota, a wheel, a restatement of the mother of revolutions or returnings of time. Of these, the tarot is the supreme grimoire containing formulae of time and the eons. There is a secret here, for Kaf is the 11th letter, and 671 divided by 11 is 61. 61 is Ain, nothing, which reversed would imply all, also 61. In Al chapter 3, verse 72, Rahur Kuit exclaims, I am the lord of the double wand of power, the wand of the force of Kaf Nia. But my left hand is empty, for I have crushed in universe and naught remains. Kaf, or Kaf, Nia is 11 times 61. The wheel, or axle, doth, or dot, of the all and Nia, or the all and naught. This is the galaxy, fractal and holographic, unitary, the essence of what Rahur Kuit symbolizes, a self-oriented and aware Ba, 3, or being. Note that 61 plus 11 is 72, the number of the verse in AL, and 311 not only equals Adam Kadmon and Aish, man, but also Kaf Nia, the man soul born of Nu and Had. Doth is transliterated from the Hebrew Daleth Ayin Tau, doth, and it is from the dot in the center of the circle that the all issues forth bringing knowledge. This is the forbidden wisdom which modern science is trying to formulate in terms of the Big Bang Theory. The knowledge, doth, 474, of Satan, 359, is 833, which is apt for its position as such, for it is the number of the sum of the alphabet in Hebrew-English gematria. A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, F6, G as Gimel 3, H as Hey 5, Yod 10, J as Yod 10, K 20 or 500 in its final value, Lamed 30 or L, M or Mem 40 or 600, Nun or N 50 or 700, Ayin 70, Pei 80 or 800, Kaf 100, Resh 200, Samek is 60 or 300 Shin, T as Teth or Tau 9 or 400, U, V, and W as Vav, X as Zadi 90 or 900, Y as Yod, again 10, and Z as Zayin 7. Which again is kind of like all scattered, but that's just the Hebrew phonetic attributions. The Gnosis, 833, of the witches, 833, who use gematria to extract information, 833. 833 is O Margaritas, the pearl of great price, and can be formulated as a cipher of Nuit. 5 divided by 6 is 0.833. The reconciliation of the 5 and the 6, or the pentagram and the hexagram, is one of the simplest formulas of the great work. 833 minus Nu, 56, equals 777. 359, Satan, plus 418, Iwas, is also 777. The Ordo Lapsit Exilis is the order of the exiled stone, and has the same number of STN, stone, or Satan itself. 769, or Samek Teth Nun Final. 769 is the number of the Book of Satan, which can be obtained from myself by mail order upon contact, which I was just referring to basically my database. It is the web of Arachne in the form of a gematria database on a CD. The gematria database CD is also 769. The disk of death, doth, knowledge. The circle and dot, secret name, which is the no word of the beast. 666 plus 103, alalia, speechless or not talking, i.e. unspeakable, is also 769. 769 is also the spider, equating the spider with its web, the web of Arachne, and Satan with his word, and the outer order, 769, which carries the stone. Ordo Lapsit Exilis is 1009, equates with the full value of Shaitan, or 359 when Nun has the final value of 700, as the Dark Lord. 1009 is the number of the dragon bloodline and Chthonios, under, beneath, infernal, or underworld, referring to the nature of the beast. 1009 is also the number of the Lamb working. Lamb being a form of the dragon as the lion serpent on the microcosmic level as spermatozoa, the root zoon means beast, and a macrocosmic level as interdimensional demiurgic serpent man. 1009 is the 1 in the double zero or infinity cycle becoming 9, plus 102, see previous post, equals 1111, the arc, or the four directions and the arch. 1111 forms the X, or the cross of the abyss, the mark of the beast. When it is realized that the divine king or queendom is serpentine or dragonine in essence, the reptilian nature of things doesn't seem quite so startling. The reptilian current is everywhere apparent, if not especially so in the number 666. For zirclium, reptile or reptilian, equals 666. 666 is the number of the beast in its solar phallic form. It is the number of dark matter, which is the unseen world beyond the illusion. 666 is the heart and core of the computer or AI system. It is then significant regarding the situation with the gray aliens and the gray race, which may be the archons or the dragons that the Gnostics talked about. The devil card, 666, is called the Lord of the Gates of Matter, as well as the child of the forces of time, because it is the Saturnian material aspect of creation in the carnal, bestial, reptilian impulse. The connection with Pan as the pangenitor or all-begetter and Panphage, all-destroyer or all-consumer, shows the formulas of Salve et Coagula resumed by the Aeon or I correspondence of this Atu, or tarot card. The blood of the dragon is the combined elixir of kalas that coagulate to form the Shaitan, or stone. 1400 is another number of Ordo Lapsit Exilis, as well as the blood of the dragon itself. And again, 14 times 100, 14 is Zahab, gold, 100 is Kaf, the moon, 1400 is Aleph in its fullest value of 1000, and Tau. 1400 is Oth, meaning essence. And I meant to put, and seen as the earth, universe, Tau, of the air or ether, Aleph, with its final value of 1000. 1400 is the Greek proton, first, before, time, at the beginning, again, arche, denoting Shaitan, before the falling of the blood of the dragon from heaven to earth. And it connects again with Marduk and Tiamat and all that, the mythology of blood. As such, we see Hermaphroditos, the Hermaphroditus or Baphomet, the double one. The hermaphrodite is a form of Hermes as the androgynous double once attributed to Mercury. And again, look at that book, The Evolution of the Dragon, because it talks about Aphrodite and the shells of Aphrodite, or Aphrodite, being connected to the dragon mythology and all that. And Hermes, of course, and Thoth, there's some connections there. The hermaphrodite is a form of Hermes as the androgynous double one attributed to Mercury. The magical formula of Mercury is Azoth, and Azoth is 414, which is the creative principle of nature in the fluid of the astral light. It is the A through Z, Aleph through Tau, and Alpha through Omega, and equates with the Ein Sof or limitless light. It is then significant to note that it is verse 8 of chapter 1 of Revelation that the title of the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, is given as the title of Jesus. It is the first matter of the beginning, 414, Ein Sof or, as well as the perfect stone of the end, Doth, and together comprises the Philosopher's Stone, 888. As such, it is the jewel created when the above meets below, as seen in the number 8, the 0. This is the blood of the dragon. Blood in Hebrew, Daleth Mem, 44, is equivalent to fire, Lamed He Teth, 44, and water, Daleth Lamed Yod, 44. 44 is also the number of Shaval, Cheth Vav Lamed, the phoenix. The blood, DM, of the fire, LHT, and water, DLI, and phoenix, CHVL, 44, together equal 176, the number of blood. Note that today is August 8th, the Lion's Gate, 888. The Lion's Gate equals 888, and yeah, it was August 8 when I wrote published this. It is blood that is the Holy Grail, 769, Satan, which is another form of the Lapsit Exilis. The Grail is considered the womb of Babylon, Binah, but it can also be seen as the chalice of Venus, Netzach, and when enlightened with Sol, and Luna, its reflection, becomes Mercury, the androgen. The blood in the Holy Grail enumerates to 945, the number of Astron Argon, Greek for the silver star, the name of the inner order of the AA. A sister order of the Horus Maat Lodge is known as the Servants of the Star and the Snake, or SSS, which preserves the lineage of the serpent. The star is the star stone, or Itzaxar, Lapsit Exilis, that fell to earth and spawned the progeny of the snake. The star Sirius is the star of Set, and it is significant that the number of Lapsit Exilis is 665, one less than 666, an equivalent to Sirius, the dog or Sirius, as well as Antidikos, adversary or Satan. The Itzaxar is one with Azerate. In Jewish gematria, they're both 692. The Cubos, in Greek, the cube, of the secret, and the 7 seals of the zero. This is the Pandora's box that once opened can never be closed, the Malkuthian equivalent of the Doth, or dot, in the midst of Eden. This is the wish-fulfilling gem, or the black diamond of the dragon. Note that in Liber 777, the animal attributed to the zero is the dragon. Pandora's Thesei equals 1458, the number of the sum of the series of numbers 0 through 9 written in Hebrew-English gematria. 0, 282, 1, 125, 2, 85, 3, 224, 4, 282, 5, 27, 6, 160, 7, 126, 8, 32, and 9, 115. It is also the key to the abyss, which the smoke billows out from in Revelation. The word Azerate mentioned above is the name given to the goddess of the abyss, the 11th zone, and her number using Hebrew, Azerate, is 218. The 218 current, known under the name the Temple of the Black Light, is another order of the dragon, and their main book is Liber Azerate. Their aim is to accelerate the Mahapralaya, or dissolution of the cosmic demiurgic boundaries of the universe, to let the freedom of chaos once again reign supreme. They're also called the Misanthropic Luciferian Order, and they're associated with the whole Liber Falcifer and Itzaxar book publishers and whatnot. The symbol of their order is the broken pentagram, or open pentagram, which signifies the opening of the eye, 11, of the dragon, 10, for it has 11 points instead of 10, which lead to the great beyond. Furthermore, the Emerald Tablet, 751, as well contains the direct link to Satan, also 751, with Shin, Tau, and Nun, and the royal lineage of Bistia Neptunus, or the beast from the sea, both 751. For more information on the royal bloodline and the beast, I recommend the Merovingian dynasty, the satanic bloodline of the Antichrist and false prophet. 751 is also the number of the elements as Yod, the spirit, A, Aleph, air, M, Mem, water, Shin, fire, and Tau, earth. This shows the silent word, or voice of the silence, being spoken by way of manifestation. I am Shet, or I am Set. Or I am shit, because, technically we're all recycled. 751 is also Marduk, the oldest of all dragon kind, and the bringer of life and wisdom. Marduk is a venerable dragon who has come to Gaia many times as human due to his interest in human emotions and experiences. Marduk is known specifically as the lawgiver. He is believed by dragonkind to have created more than just the worlds, but all order from the chaos, while being a being of chaos. Marduk is an extremely powerful dragon whose steps into the keys of wisdom and power have been widely documented. He is a teacher to men as well as a student of mankind. He is open to contact with humans and often seeks us out in search of forgotten new information. The 4 elements stand within the spirit, and the spirit interpenetrates as the matrix or womb, 5, associated with the number 5. 5 is not only at the center or belly of 1 through 9, but the symbol itself shows a pregnant belly or womb. 5 is He, the window, looking both ways in and outside. As can be seen in the diagram, the rays of the pentagram are formed by connecting the points of the quadrangle to the spirit source. The pentagram can be turned both ways as upright or inverted. This same shape is found in the eye of the dragon, which is formed by the spheres 7, 8, 9, and 10 on the Tree of Life. The number 4 contains the complete series of the whole as the tetractys. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 10. The tetractys in Greek is 1626, the dot in the center, and the crystalline structure of matter. again, this is why you have to make a whole database and make it exceed 1,000, and you'll just see things like kind of have this weird quantum cohesion that we are not necessarily conscious of. That's why they say, oh, it's just cherry picking. You're just looking for what you're, not when you have a wide, like if you put in what you find as data, or you just, transliterate a phrases and words into numbers, then when you cross-reference things later on with other numbers, you'll see connections that, like, for example, if you take one subject that certainly no one has any connection to, like computers and stuff, no one really connects that with gematria or the occult. But if you do apply that, you'll find definite connections between these ideas of other ideas, basically. And people say, oh, well, there's no practicality in gematria. There's nothing practical. It's just mental masturbation. Well, that's where I disagree and say, well, how would you know if you haven't applied it? And if you haven't, it does take a lot of blueprinting at first, and then you can actually apply it. And it's more through extrapolation. It's not you can apply it in terms of in art, in poetry, in logos and design, as clearly I think some people do, consciously or not. And that's where it's practical. It's simply conscious creation of, that's kind of what the whole idea of spell work, spells and spelling and grimoires, grammar, when you understand that what you're spelling, what you're saying, what you're doing is, the details matter. It's just simply paying attention to the detail. And again, the intention behind these things is what kind of, I think, structures them. The structures are kind of based on the intention underlying them, and that's what's important to consider, like with the whole concept of general semantics and the levels of meaning. By being aware of the gematria and the patterning, the underlying numerical structure of things, we can better formulate things. That's all I'm saying is by understanding this, we can better formulate and guide and not control, but in a way that's what's happening is we're not controlling it consciously. It's happening subconsciously. And by simply becoming aware of this sort of nature, the mathematical or numerical nature of mind and language, a lot more, creativity is opened, and it's less restricted, and I don't know. There are certain paradoxes behind the whole subject. The whole subject of gematria is iffy, and it just takes a lot of thinking and practice, and obviously that's exactly why people can't comprehend it or use it or find much value in it. It's because it takes some work. It takes thinking. It's not it's not something that, it's very hard for me to even teach this, because I'm trying to show that it's a dynamic thing that kind of is up to you in a sense. It's up to you and how you approach it and apply it. But obviously some things are the way they are, and it's just, it's not for me to say this is the way it is, that's the way it is. I'm just saying this is what I found, and it's up to you to determine for yourself what you think about it. And again, if you've gotten this far, then you must have somewhat of an open mind to be able to listen to this sort of thing. And obviously you're either keeping up with it or you're not, and you're just I don't know, it's up to you. Again, The number 1234 has been mentioned previously, but here it is important to point out that 1, 2, 3, 4 being the number of the first 4 zones, Kether 620, Chokmah 73, Binah 67, and Doth 474, further veils the Lapsit, Grail, Satan, Pandora's box, mythos or connection. As the 9 gates, it is the dragon eye looking in all directions. The eye of the dragon is a form of the mark of the beast. And again, the mark of the beast is 1, 2, 3, 4. For it grants the vision of the dragon. It is the key to the bottomless pit. For 474, Dot or Doth is the abyss or pit. It is ruled by the prince of darkness. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1234, who is actually Lux or Lucifer, the bringer of light. For Yod in full, 20 plus 780, and with a non-final, in 434, Daleth in full is again 1234. Yod being the eye of Set. 1234 is the creator, Brahma, and the destroyer, Shiva, spelled in full. This is the cosmos arising out of chaos, whose Set or Satan is the god of. Hence, the prince of the air and the lord of the earth, the beginning and the end, the child of the forces of time, and the lord of the gates of matter. The lost stone, or the lost word, the omnific word, is the no word that is the soul itself. How shall he destroy himself? Liber 1, verse 00. And in the word chaos, let the book be sealed. Yeah, let the book be sealed. Liber 1, verse 21.